Today's Gemara in Yevamos, Daf Yomi Gimel, all the learning has been generously sponsored, has the Schos Yilin Neshama of Chaim Mordechai ben Naftali Tzvi, whose yard site was yesterday in Chav Zayin Nisan. Mir Hashem, the learning of the entire Chabura, as we're going to be completing the fifth parak of Yevamos today, should bring Chaim Mordechai ben Naftali Tzvi to an higher place in Gan Eden Shalmailo. As well as learning should be as Choshidach Mishal Chaim Devaira Tamsiv Basfar Rachos Om Libi Zahaba Oifik Ben Tali Sheva Ben Chaya Blum Yehudis Bas Afruma Malka. As well as learning should be as Chos Refuah Shleimo Shmol Ben Yerfeider Shmo Ben Tilo Naftal Zimah Chales and Chom Basfivas Ar Blum Mas Mindol Chaim Moshe Yeshua Ben Malka Bashavigu Shirchana Besayin Sha'ar Chayli Yisrael. We're holding on the top of Nun Gimel Amid Aleph. 4 lines down, Rav Shravya Oima. And we're in the middle of discussing a brisa. The brisa which began yesterday was a brisa that taught us that someone does chalitza, and after the chalitza does kiddushin. What is the status of that story? And we learned that it's a machlekes Rebbe and the Chachamim. That Rebbe differentiated the motive of the kiddushin, whereas the Chachamim said, irregardless, you need a new get. So yesterday we had 2 terutzim which took us to the top of Amid Aleph. And today comes along Rav Shravya and he explains Rav Shravya Amar Bechalitza Kshera, in a scenario in which a good full-fledged chalitza was done. If he subsequently said, I want to get married with the Zikas Yevamim, which was the teretz from yesterday on the top of the Amid, according to Rav Shravya, in the same scenario, it's not going to work. Because there's no Zika, because the Chalitza got rid of the Zika. But what's the case over here? The Chalitza Psula. The case over here, says Rav Shravya, is that what was performed? A Chalitza Psula. Kamiflagi. That is the Machlekes Rebbe and the Chachamim. And he explains that Mar Savar, that Rebbe holds Chalitza Psula Poiteres. Chalitza Psula removes the Yibam. Even though it's not a full-fledged Chalitza, still it severs that bond, and therefore a subsequent kedusha will not work. Omar Savar Chalitza Psula and Poiteres, and the Chachamim hold it does not pater, and that is the reason why, according to the Chachamim, a subsequent kedushin would indeed require a get. And finally, Rav Ashi Amar, a 4th teretz, Tukuli Amar Chalitza Psula Eina Beter. Says Rav Ashi, no, if it's a Chalitza Psula, if it's a deficient Chalitza, it doesn't work. So what's the case over here? The Machlekes Rebbe and the Chachamim, they're arguing about whether there could be a Tanai, a condition within the Chalitza. Mar Savar, the Rabbanan hold the Yishai B'Chanitza, Mar Savar ein Tanai B'Chalitza. And the Rabbanan hold there cannot be, let's look at Rashi. 5 lines into the narrow lines. Rashi says, Yesh Tanai B'Chalitza, Shecholatz Lo Amanas, Shetiten Loi Masayim Zos. You did a chalitza with a condition. And Rashi explains, Rebbe Savar ein Tanai Moyel b'chalitza v'afiloi nasaloi ein Tanai Moyel. Even if you didn't give the 200, the Tanai is meaningless. And rather, by the chalitza inherently works and it severs that bond. And therefore the mimer afterwards doesn't work. Why doesn't the mimer work? Because he severed the bond. There's no more zika. For Rabbanon, according to Rabbanon, no, yesh tonight, there you can make a condition in chalitza. And the chol kamod loy kaiman, if you did not fulfill the condition, loy paka zika. There's still a zika connection over there. V'chiyamar Allah, and therefore when he says to us, kadash the kasev zeb zikas yivamim, kani, and that's the reason why according to Chacham there will be a kinyan, and that's why you're going to need a get. And a final teretz comes along Ravina, and he answers, Ravina amar t'kuliyamu yesh tonight b'chalitza. Everyone agrees that there's a tonight. You know what the machlekes here is? Do you need a Tanai like we find the Tanai b'nei Gad, b'nei Reuven, a Tanai in the Torah? Does it have to be a double Tanai? Mar Savar explains Ravina. Mar Savar, Rebbe old Bina and Tanai Kafel, you do not do it, and therefore it's pointless. So Mar Savar lo Bina and Tanai Kafel, even without it, it's going to work. So many different answers how we explain this machlekes Rebbe and the Chachamim in the Brisa. And we continue now quoting the Mishnah, Chalatz Vasa Maimer Nasan Gedu Baal. Now we're going to go through piece by piece the Mishnah, trying to figure out, is the Mishnah teaching us a Chiddush? What is the Chiddush of the Mishnah? Etc. So the first case in which we discuss is if one Yavam, we have Shimon and Levi. Shimon goes and does Chalitza, and then Levi comes along and does Maimer, or Levi gives a get, or Levi does Biyah. So it says the Mishnah, Ein Acher Chalitza Klum, and the Mishnah did not speak out that there isn't anything after Bia. So ask the Gemara, V'nisni nami in acher bia klum. The same way Chalitza fully severs this Yibam, fully severs these two people, Bia fully consummates the marriage. Just like Chalitza makes it 100% that they're disconnected, Bia makes them 100% connected. So why didn't the Mishnah speak out that Ein acher bia klum? So says the Gemara, let's understand this teretz because we have this multiple times today. Abaye v'Rava d'Amar Tervayu Tini. Put it into the Mishnah. It's supposed to be there. Says the Gemara, Tini ein acher bia klum, but Tana didan. So why doesn't our Tana write it? If you're telling me it's supposed to be in the Mishnah, why wasn't it in the Mishnah? Explains the Gemara, Taras Yevamos l'shuk adifalei. The Mishnah rather hone in on the din of allowing her to marry to the shuk. Meaning, it's the same din. One din is they're fully married, one din they're fully not married. The Mishnah just spoke it out in the way that it did with Chalitza, because that's a bit of we'll call it a more novel din according to the Mishnah, in which she's now allowed to go marry to the shuk. And the Mishnah continues, Echad Yevama Achas, Echad Shtei Yevamais. The same din applies whether it's one Yevama or whether it's two Yevamais to one Yavam. Whether it's two Yevamais, Rachel and Leah falling to Shimon. Says the Gemara, Mastis the Dolik ben Azai, the Mishnah Nalik ben Azai, the Tani ben Azai, Omer Yesh Maimer Echad Maimer Yesh Maimer Acher Maimer. However, Bishnei Yevamin Yevama Achas. Excuse me, not however. Yesh Maimer Acher Maimer. When do two Maimers work? When does the second Maimer have some validity, making them forbidden, etc.? Bishnei Yevamin Yevama Achas. Pavein Maimer Acher Maimer. Bishnei Yevamas Yevam Echad. But when it's the reverse, it's not. Therefore, Mishnah is clearly not like that. As our Mishnah just explained to us that whether it's two girls and one guy, two guys and one girl, whether it's Reuven dying and Shimon and Levi, the brothers, falling with Yibam to Reuven's wife Rachel, or whether Reuven dies and Reuven's brother Shimon has Reuven's two wives, Rachel and Leah, falling to him, the Mishnah said it's the same din. So the Mishnah is clearly not like Ben Azai. And we continue quoting the Mishnah. We're about 20 lines from the white lines. Ketzad, Maimer, Lazu, Vechulu. First one line is Vechulu. Says the Gemara, Leima Mesayel Shmuel. Let's say that the Mishnah is a raya to Shmuel. What is the raya to Shmuel? The Mishnah is referring to a din when one does Chalitza and a different Yevama does Maimer. Says the Gemara, Damar Shmuel, Cholas Labalas Maimer, Loinifter Asaras. The Mishnah is seemingly a raya. Because Shmuel holds that Chalitza to one does not patter up the tzara. And therefore our Mishnah seemingly is teaching us the same thing. Asks the Gemara if it's a raya to Shmuel to Yufta to Rav Yosef. Seemingly it should be a kasha on Rav Yosef who argued on Shmuel. Rav Yosef saying when there's Rachel and Leah and only one brother, Rav Yosef saying that you only require one. Says the Gemara, Mikatani Choylis, Cholatz Katani Di'evet. Says the Gemara, the wording of the Mishnah teaches a din. The Mishnah does say Choylis. This is what you should do. Cholatz Katani. The Mishnah is just telling us a story. The Mishnah is just telling us what was done. And therefore says the Gemara, you cannot necessarily bring a raya to what you should do. L'chatchil. Get lazu, continues the Gemara. We said that if he gave a get to this Yevama and he gave a get to that Yevama, Shimon gives to Rachel and to Levi, they both require Chalitza. Says the Gemara, the Rabbi Ravuna is the right to Ravuna, Dam Rabbi Ravuna, Chalitza, Psula, Tzricha, Kolach. Seemingly, because it's the deficient Chalitza, it's not absolute. Seemingly, therefore, you got to go to each and every one. So seemingly our Mishnah is a raya to that. When the Mishnah said, get lazu, then you need Chalitza to both. My tzricha says no. When the Mishnah says tzricha chalitza, it doesn't mean plural. It means tzricha the alma. What it refers to in the world a get, a chalitza is necessary, but not necessarily that each one requires a chalitza. Continues the Mishnah, continues the Gemara, quoting 10 lines from the white lines. Get lazu v'chalatz lazu. If one gave a get to this Yevama and did chalitza with that Yevama, again says Gemara, and of course this is a carbon copy of what we learned 3 lines before. That was the case of Maimer. This case of Chalitza, so the Gemara repeats itself. Says the Gemara, Chalatz v'chalatz v'chalatz One performed chalitza with one yavama and chalitza with the other one, or what did he do? He did chalitza with one yavama and then he did maimer or get or bia, etc. Said the Mishnah, ein acher chalitza klum. Asked the Gemara the same kasha we learned a few lines above. Why don't we say after bia there's nothing else? That's absolute. Again, the same teretz of Abraham and Tani put it in. And our Tana rather have spoken about making her mutter to a shuk, but it is indeed the same thing. Whether it's one yavam with two yavamais, or whether it's two yavamin with one yavama. Says the Gemara, according to Rabbi Yochanan, it says that once chalitza is done between one yavam and one yavama, everyone, all the brothers are nichlal, are included in the lav of bayis echad givna. You can only build one house and not more. So I understand that every single brother is included in the lav, and ein kedushin types in b'chayve lav. So if any brother, there are three brothers, if any subsequent brother goes and tries to get involved in any of these yavamais, it's not going to work. Because they're all, once one of them does chalitza, the chalitza is viewed as being a shliach, a messenger for all the brothers. So no brother now could do anything with these girls because it's a lav. The lav of once you didn't build, you can't further build. But I asked the Gemara El Reish Lakish. But according to Reish Lakish, that he holds not like Rabbi Yochanan. What does Reish Lakish hold? Amar Kula Beis Abikaris. He holds that they're all included in krisos. Says the Gemara. Would you have to teach me this din? It's not just a lav. It's not a lav of bayis echad you could build and not two batim. It's a regular krisos of aragis. So if you have these brothers are regular, consider the wife of their brother, the regular Eishes Ach, you don't need a pasuk, you don't need a chiddush to teach me there's no kedushin. Ain't kedushin types of chayve lavin. Says the Gemara, Reish Lakish Reish Lakish throws the ball back at Rav Yochanan. According to you, Rav Yochanan, Sefer de Katani Baal of Asa Maimer Itzurich Lashminon. According to you, Rav Yochanan, do we have to say the case in the Seifa in which he did Bia and then a different brother did Maimer? That there's nothing after the first one does Bia, the Kedusha Taifse Beishes Hish. The first brother goes along and marries Rachel. The second brother, full-fledged, Bia, 100% married. The second brother comes along and does Kedushin. Throws money at her. Shkoyach, of course it doesn't work. They're an Eishes Ish. You have to tell me the Chiddush of having Kedusha Eishes Ish. So why did you tell me that thing? I didn't tell Nataras Yavam Echad, Yavam Achas. Tanami Shtei Yevamos Yavam Echad. Says the Gemara, each case is written because of the other case, and you're right. There's really no chiddush, but because you wrote one case, we continue with writing a similar and comparable case. And we turn over to Nungimel and B. Says the Gemara, if one yavam did chalitza, and then the other yavam did maimer, or the other one gave a get, etc. What do we say? Ein acher chalitza klum. So explains the Gemara. If one did chalitza fully severing, and then one came along and did maimer de kedushin de rabbanon, I understand why we need that case. Why? Because I would have thought nigzer maimer de basa chalitza de maimer de kami chalitza. I make a gezerah. What's the gezerah? Just like if the maimer before chalitza, that maimer does something, and then the chalitza subsequently doesn't fully sever that bond. Why? As we spoke about, we learned the Mishnah a few days ago. Because a maimer is a form of kedushin, so that needs a get. Chalitza is a form of yibam. So therefore, if maimer was done, get's going to have to be done. So just like if maimer was before chalitza, so too maimer after chalitza, I understand. Kamash malon gazrina. Ella, but in the case of chalatz v'nas and get, lamali, why do we need that case? What's the chiddush of that case? A get after chalitza, of course, does nothing. Chalitza fully severs, and he gives a get. What sheikh says, of course, it's not doing anything. Says the Gemara, that will tameich, according to your teaching, ema seifa. Get. So says the Gemara. If he did a bia, then he gave a get. I understand. Get the basar bila to get the kami bila similar concern. Then maybe we make a gzeira that the get that comes after the bia, we make a gzeira up to a get that comes before the bia. The get that comes before the bia, we learned makes it that given the bayis echad lo yivna, you can't build any house anymore. So maybe a get afterwards also will do that. Kamash lo gazrina. Avol baal v'asa maimer lamali. But in the case did a bia and then did a maimer, what does that teach me? You're doing maimer kedusha derabanan after bia, after you consummated the marriage. Of course, it doesn't do anything. Ella. So why do we write that case in the seifa? I did the nechalos v'asa maimer tanam baal v'asa maimer. Why did the baal? Why did the boy the misty baal v'nasan get? Each case is written because of the other case, so it's coming out that indeed it is true. There are numerous cases in the Mishnah which are indeed a bit extraneous, but each one is written due to the other. And now we continue quoting the Mishnah about 12 lines to the end of the parak. We said when it comes to Tashmish, and we had a machlokes in the Mishnah between the Tanakama and Rav Nechemya. A machlokes whether tashmish only when it's done first, then it consummates the marriage. Or it says Rav Nechemya, even if the tashmish is done subsequently, it still is absolute. So says the Gemara Masnisa Deloy Kaitana. So in the Mishnah we had two opinions. We had the Tanakama and Rav Nechemya. And now the Gemara is introducing a third opinion. The Tanya B'Yosi ben Yochanan Ishu Shalayim B'Aymer Mishum Rameir. Achas bi'ila v'achas chalitza bitchila in acharaklum. So this opinion of Abba Yosi ben Yochanan Ishu Shalayim comes along and puts bia and chalitza in the same boat, and he says whether it's bitchila, if it's at the beginning, it works 100%. But be'emza u'besof, not just bia, even chalitza. Yish acharei klum, it's not absolute. And now the Gemara explains that shalosh machlekes bedavar. The Gemara does some math for us that there's three machlekeses, there's three levels. Bia is different. There is a concern. There is that which you're making zero when it comes to tashmish, and therefore we're making zero. Bachalitza delekela migzar lo gazrinan. Ran Nechemya in the Mishnah Savar. Bia nami lekela migzar. There's no gezerah for bia either. Udka'amr ligzar bia atar gem yisham bia chalitza. Says the Gemara, wait, from Nechemya, we just said a moment ago that just like we should be concerned with get before bia, we should be concerned with get after bia. Says from Nechemya, no. Even the chalitza deoraisa midiyadi. Everyone knows about it, so there's no concern. Why do we make a zera that just like a biach bia, we should do biach or maimer? Says the Gemara, keeping the bia daraisa mediyadi. So if Nechemya goes down the road that both bia and chalitza are dine daraisa, so we don't have to be worried about them. And thirdly, Baba Yosi ben Yochanan, as we're quoting in the Bryce right now, Savar lo kirabanan, the Gazi Rebia, Vikazar Chalitza Misham Bia. He goes the furthest. He goes, not only is there gezeras by the Bia, there's even a gezerah by Chalitza because of the Bia. We have to be concerned in all three cases. Hadron, Allah, Rav Gamliel, a bit of a shorter, I don't want to say easier parak, but we should have made to Hashem, do a chazara on this fabulous fifth parak of Rav Gamliel. I don't know, it was a few short blot to maybe take it over Shabbos, do a nice quick chazara, and in Mirza Hashem, we should continue learning many more daf and prakim together. So let's begin. We're just going to begin by, let's begin. We have plenty of time. Let's see the Mishnah, maybe even get into the Gemara. Says the Mishnah, Haba al Yevimtai. Now we're going to learn the dinim of Yibam. If one goes and is together with the Yevamos, he sleeps with her, he has bia with her. What's the halacha? Halacha is they're married. He did even beautiful, excellent. But what form of tashmish makes them married? Says the Mishnah, bein b'shoigig, bein b'mezid, bein b'oines, bein b'rosling. Afilu hu shoigig v'hi mezid. And now the Gemara is going to go through every single possible permutation and come out. Yibam works in every case. So let's go. Whether it was done accidentally, purposely, by coercion, willingly, and of course the Gemara is going to go through each and every one of these and explain them. Afilu hu shoigig v'hi mizida, he is b'shoigig and she acts purposely. Hu mezid v'hi shagagas. Hu oines v'hi lo yanusa, he does with coercion and not her. He anusa v'hu lo yanus, she's forced and not him. Echana ma'ara, even if you just do ma'ara, is the tchilas tashmish, just the beginning of the Aver goes in. V'achra goymer, a full tashmish. Kana, there is in Kinyan, there is a Yibam, the Yavam and the Yarama are married. And there's no differentiation. Bein bia labia doesn't make a difference. Any form of a tashmish, coerced, by force, on purpose, accidental, one on purpose, one not, any single form, there is a kinyan and they are married. And similarly, says the Mishnah in part 2 of the Mishnah, and similarly, if one is either a dreadful Aveira and is together with one of the Arayis, Shabbatayra, or together with one that he is possible to, Kigoin, Amana, a woman who lost her husband, like Kohen Gadol, Kushav Chalutza, like Kohen Hedyet, Mamzer in a sin, like Yisrael, Bas Yisrael, Mamzer in a sin. Any of these relationships which are forbidden, in all of these cases, it's possible, Chilik ben Bia Labia, any form of Bia, any form of even Techilas Bia, Ha'ara, the even just goes in a little bit, by force or not, any form is an Aveira of Arai. So basically, there's one theme of our Mishnah, that when it comes to Tashmish, any form of Tashmish is created equal, and with regard to the kinyan of Yibam, that is true, and with regard to the Isra Arayis, that is true. So let's begin the Gemara, that the Gemara says, My Afilu. The Mishnah began, Mishnah's Afilu, Shaygig Vimezida. Even if he's Vishaygig, says the Gemara, what's the Afilu? Explains the Gemara, Loimi Bayi Kamer. Loimi Bayi, it's Pashit in the case of Shaygig Vikamachavna. If he acts Vishaygig, he's mistaken. He doesn't know he's doing the mitzvah of Yibam. Vihikamachavna. And she knows that there's a mitzvah of Yibam. She has intention for the mitzvah. Inami, or else, who makes it vikamachavna the mitzvah. Or in the case of that she has kavan and he's bemazed, being over. In any of these cases, those cases are pashit. And what the case exactly of Mezid, etc., we're going to have to see what that means in the Gemara in a moment. But says the Gemara, what's the Chiddush alafilu shoyeg v'hi mezida? Neither of them did tarvayu l'kamachavni l'shem mitzvah. Neither one is having intention l'shem mitzvah to fulfill the mitzvah of Yibam. Neither of them. He's b'shoyeg, she's doing it b'mezid on purpose. Afilu achi kana, still there is a kinyan. That is the Chiddush. That's the afilu of the Mishnah. That even without any intention, they're going to be married. Says the Gemara, Tani Rav Chia, we learned in our price. Afilu shneim shayigim, shneim mezidim, shneim anusim. Any of these cases, it's still a valid yibam. They're both coerced. They're both acting by purpose, by mistake. They're still married. Says the Gemara, Oynes de masnisa nechidam. What is the case of Oynes in the Mishnah? The Mishnah said that they're coerced to do this. What's the case? Explains the Gemara. 3 lines to the bottom. If the case is that Goyim forced him to be with her, Goyim came over to a man and said, you sleep with this woman who fell to Yibam. Reuven and Shimon. Reuven dies. Reuven's wife Rachel falls to Yibam to Shimon. A guy comes over to Shimon and says, you sleep with Rachel or we're going to kill you. So if that's the case, but can't be. V'amar Rava. But Rava teaches a very important din. A din, I don't know what just happened. A din, okay, we got red highlights for a moment. I'm not sure why. Rav says, there's no such case. Why? So big machlek is Rishonim what exactly this means. But comes like Rava, and Rava says that the act of tashmish, the act of bia, has to have a kishay. The man is aver, has to be erect, and therefore says Rava, the only way to have that erection is ladas. Is if you have some mind, and therefore says Rava, there must be some level of want between this man and this woman, and therefore says Rava, there can't be the case of Aynes. Because if that was the case of Aynes, that's not called Aynes, that's called Ratzayim. He wants to do it, a Chiddush of Rava. Ella says the Gemara, so what's the Aynes in the Mishnah? Be Yashin. The case is he was sleeping, he had a kisha while he was sleeping, and the Goyim came and put this girl onto him. He says the Gemara, V'amar Rav Yehuda, as we turn over to tomorrow's Daf and Dalam and Aleph, says Rav Yehuda, Yoshin loy kana be a you can't make a kinyan of a Yevamo while you're sleeping, as the Tab Rashi points out, because you don't have das. Your brain is not working, you're sleeping, you need to have das to have a kinyan. Says the Gemara, Ella, you know what the case is? Bin nitka. The case is that he had tashmish with her. What's the case? He fell off a roof, Rashi over here says, and he had an erect aver, and somehow he fell into this Yevamo. Ask the Gemara 1 second. V'amar Rabba nafal min agav netzach chayav bara devarim. Oh, v'yavimter like kana. Rabba says you're not kaina in such a case. Elakigayin, you know what the case of Aynes in the Mishnah is. Sheniskavian the Ishtai v'tekaf asa Yevamtai. He's having das. He thinks he's sleeping with his wife, and the Yevama jumps into the story. Uba'ala, and he's with her. That is the case of Aynes because he was coerced. He didn't know. He did have das to have tashmish. He did have das to be with a woman. But he didn't know it was this woman. That's going to be the case of Einis in the Mishnah. I'll pick it up for the case of Shnei Manusim in the next year. B'siyata d'Ishmaya.